This is ur-boy-gelo, ur-boy-gelo podcast with doc-Casey, music, motivation, and life. It's a continuation of part 2 from the previous podcast that we did. And this is where we discuss a little bit about the what if clause. What if is another part of that internal dialogue that makes people collapse into that fearful thing of starting up, right? Mm-hmm. What if I don't lose the weight? What if I set a goal and I don't reach that goal? They throw in all these hypotheticals to give themselves an excuse not to do it. I've seen it so much and so often.
Sure.
I call it the what if clause. And, you know, you're comparing yourself to others that you don't even know. You can't do that.
You're already, I mean, when that happens, I mean, I think that's human nature.
Yes.
You know, to think that way.
That's at no fault of anyone. Actually.
But also it's like, you know, it's like if, you know, if a guy or a girl is at a bar and they see another cute guy or girl and they want to go up and talk to him. And then that little voice says, oh, well, they're not going to like me. Right. You know, my hair doesn't look good. I'm too whatever. And so you've already rejected yourself.
Yeah.
Like why are you already rejecting yourself?
Yeah.
You know, why are you counting yourself out?
Yep. It's a dangerous tightrope to walk.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and I think that's human nature when someone sets any kind of goal, and the what if has different consequences depending on what it is the person sets out. Like if it's to lose weight and it's like, oh, well, what if I don't lose 30 pounds by my Jamaican vacation in 6 months?
Right.
Well, then, okay, then you lost 20 pounds and, you know, it's still a win on the board, right. You know, but there's other, like an extreme example. You're saving up for like somebody needs some kind of medical treatment and it's $150,000. Well, what if I don't save up the $150,000? Well, that consequence could be a little more dire than not losing 30 pounds.
Right.
But it's kind of like, you know, when you're skiing, you know, like, do you ever learn to ski? Do you ski?
Oh yeah, I ski.
Yeah. You know, when you're learning how to ski and you're on the bunny hill, when you want to turn, what do they tell you to do?
Oh yeah.
Look where you want to go.
Look where you want to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't look where you don't want to go. Look where you, like, if you're a race car driver and you lose control of the car and you're careening towards the wall, don't look at the wall.
No. No doubt. No, it makes total sense. And I think
that's conditioning. That's
what I was just
that's
about
a muscle.
Say. Exactly.
You know, faith and courage unused is weak.
Yes.
Pessimism, if you use it all the time, gets stronger.
No doubt. And that's the whole thing, right? You keep saying it. And this is, look, I'm sure you experienced this. Most people have. You keep saying something long enough and putting it out there, you'll start to believe that shit. Mm-hmm. And that's dangerous. That is super dangerous. Which is the whole thing with the what if, right? I've had, oh man, I want to say names, but I can't because that's just of HIPAA. So I had I would believe she was 45, maybe in her maybe early 50s. I want to say mid 40s. Beautiful, nice woman. Her goal was to just be active and lose some weight. But the constant thing that she was always going through whenever we would start an exercise or program it was the doubt, the self-doubt. Having that self-doubt is a killer, just because once you've gone down that, you've traveled down the self-doubt road, it's hard to turn the truck around.
Yeah, 100%.
And what happens is they go into their workouts, and this happens a lot, and this can be good or bad. Is that you've been coming to your trainer or you've been going to your gym for so long that you are on autopilot. And when you are on autopilot, that is one of those things where you can get into that almost zen state when you're training so hard because you have an end outlook of where you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to continually tell yourself, what if I don't lose the weight? What happens if will my husband or wife leave me if I don't lose this weight? Instead of focusing and living in the now
Mm-hmm.
and doing the things that you need to do in that time frame, they get sidetracked, and now they're not in the zen thing because now they're in worry mode while they're working out, and they're self-doubting while they're training. So their effort, I've seen it a lot. The effort becomes less, and you're not changing anything as a trainer. You're just increasing the amount of output that they're doing. Right, as you get
Mm-hmm.
better, you put out more output. You get better at what you're doing. You lose more output,
Mm-hmm.
better eating, more muscle, less fat, kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just the easy way to explain it. Of course, there's numbers involved, but you've got to let things go until she started to let the bad shit that was going on in her life, because that's why she was taking care of herself, rough relationship,
Mm-hmm.
losing the house kind of thing. She was, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it was like the stuff that she was going through was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And while she was doing this, I saw peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys. And then after like 3 months, it got to the point where she couldn't work out anymore because she was
Yeah.
just so overwhelmed with life.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of, look, when I try to teach folks, we talk about mindset a lot. When we try to talk about creating that powerful or taking back your power mindset, is hard for most people because when they are not willing to be open and conscious about what is actually going on, instead of, like I said, running away from it. So in other words, I'm not ignoring what you're feeling. Never ignore. You're not ignoring your emotions. What you're doing is you're trying to understand how to navigate when these things happen, when death occurs, when you get that final notice on your mortgage, or your car payment note is 3 months overdue, is
Mm-hmm.
finding the solution to carry you through so you
Mm-hmm.
don't have um, any self-doubt. But taking your own power back is something that I talk about frequently with most folks. Is because most folks don't even know that they have the power to take control of their lives. And it's one of those things where they're like, oh, tell me about this mindset thing. And I said, well, it's just everyday stuff. Like, are you paying attention to, like, what are you telling yourself when you wake up in the morning? What are you telling
Mm-hmm.
yourself as you're eating? What are you
Mm-hmm.
telling yourself as you're going through your workout? What are you telling yourself after your workout? When your kids talk to you, are you in that moment, or are you thinking about other stuff?
Mm-hmm.
So it carries over into the fitness world so much that I think talking about taking ownership and taking your power back. Actually, just had this conversation with my wife this morning with Aaron. We were talking about that. It's not about excluding the way you feel. It's about understanding the way you feel and learning how to navigate that, and actually taking power from that, knowing that you have control over
Mm-hmm.
these emotions. No
Mm-hmm.
one's saying you shouldn't cry. No one's saying you shouldn't be pissed. No one's saying
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't be
Frustrated.
sad or frustrated. Those are
Mm-hmm.
those You should be sad and frustrated. And damn it, sometimes you just need to cry. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is learning how to take your own power back from all that grief and setbacks and things that you are saying that define you, that don't define you
Mm-hmm.
as a person. It's huge to see somebody actually step into their greatness. You always see here stepping into your greatness, but when you see somebody get that thing that was holding them back for so long, that
Mm-hmm.
breakthrough, that epiphany, or whatever it may be, it's amazing to see the you know how people say they have the eye, like,
Mm-hmm.
you got the eye, I have the eye. There's a certain look to a person who gets that. Look, I'm not going to be 100% great every day, but I own that shit. And whatever happened 10, 15 years ago, eat shit 5 minutes ago,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't define me as that doesn't define me. I'm not that. I'm better than that.
It's like that concept, it's not my original concept, but people will always act in accordance with who they think they are,
Right.
with who you think. If you think of yourself as somebody that doesn't follow through because you have not followed through on things in the past, that's not who you are. That's just what you've done in the past.
Right.
And if you start to look at yourself, you're like, you know what, man? No, that's a pattern that I followed in the past. I haven't been responsible with my money. I haven't been as good with my health as I could have been. I've kind of fallen short. I really haven't been that ambitious in the past, but that doesn't have to define what I'm going to do in the future.
Right.
That's what I've done. That's not who I am.
Right.
And your results may not change in an instant. You're not going to lose 30 pounds all of a sudden. You're not going to have 6 figures in your checking account all of a sudden. But what can change in an instant is your expectations of yourself. You can raise your own standard. And I think, in changing how you look at yourself and changing your mindset and getting rid of the what ifs, sometimes you need to, it's like when you have a cold and you make yourself get up and go to work. You're like, I feel like shit. But by noon, you're like, oh, okay, you know what? And there's no magic bullet or mind hack or anything like that. Sometimes you just got to do it. When you think of yourself as like, oh, well, I'm not a healthy person. Well, all right, man, start by going and walking around the block and have like a salad with salmon.
Right.
You may not feel like it, but after it's done, you're like, oh, okay, I actually did something healthy for myself.
Right.
And if you do that again and again and again, it will start to change your mindset and how you start to look at yourself.
Exactly.
And then you have a cheeseburger and, smash some IPAs to your face. And you're like, okay, I had a good time.
Oh, God.
And so, but you know what? Hey, man, whatever. I fell off the wagon for a night, back to the grind, whatever. That doesn't negate the other 100 things that I did that were good for myself this past week.
No, and I think people need to take the small gains and small wins, as we call them.
That was a big thing for me.
Enjoy it. You got to enjoy it.
It was a big thing for me in residency,
right?
Especially early on, because the thing about, I think you could say this in a lot of jobs, is nobody remembers the 1,000 things you did correctly.
No.
They're only going to remember the screw ups or the things that you forgot to check.
Right.
Things like that. Nobody will remember those. It can be completely thankless. And, and that's the thing. It's not that you should get a gold star everything you do something correctly. You catch a myocardial infarction on an EKG, or you catch a developing pneumonia on a chest x-ray, you shouldn't get a pat on the back. That's kind of doing your job. It's kind of like, it's like, a surgeon coming out, be like, hey, I got his appendix out safely and he's doing well. It's like, you want a parade?
Right. I think, that's good. That's a good one, man. Like looking for validation all the time.
Well, because like in medicine, the consequences of a screw up can be so
devastating. Right. Yeah. Right.
That, especially if you're somewhere in the ICU where, a magnesium level can be the difference between getting a patient through the night. The devil is in the details.
Right.
It's real easy to beat yourself up and become discouraged and overlook all the things that you did really, really well.
Right.
Especially when you get some consultant that tears you a new one at 2:00 in the morning and you're fatigued, and you could extrapolate that out to a single mother of 4 that's trying to work 2 jobs and trying to get her health under control. And, she had a mental breakdown and sat in her car and ate a box of donuts and then felt really bad about it. But she's been grinding it out and doing really well for like 3 months.
Right. So let's talk. Right. Let's talk about the looking for validation thing. Cause I think as humans, like you say, some folks are always looking for a pat on the back because
Mm-hmm.
they're doing more to be seen or be heard, but also doing more for what you're doing more now because you want a promotion in your job, say, and
Yep.
nobody's noticing it, or you're doing more in the gym, and you're hoping people are noticing that you're doing more in the gym and looking for validation. Sometimes the validation doesn't need to be there. It needs to be more of like we're going to talk about again, internal validation for yourself, knowing that you know for yourself that you just did that. Like when nobody's around, you
Yeah.
shouldn't be looking for that validation all the time. And don't get me wrong, it's fine to have some sort of validation through life because it lets you know that you're on track. But I think having, like we talked again, we're gonna bring back the social media monster, looking for validation immediately for, oh, look at me, I just did 15 reps. It's one thing to do video, so you have a recognition of the video. Most people do
Mm-hmm.
video because it's nice. It's nice to look at your form and all that other stuff. But when you're
Mm-hmm.
simply just doing it to get more views or whatever you're doing to be the cool guy on the monster, on the FB, on the IG, or whatever you're doing, some of it's cool, but you're also like looking for the ego thing, right? Sometimes the ego needs to shut down, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that can be. I think that can be a good thing or not a good thing depending on who's
Right.
using it.
Well,
You
that's
know,
it. That's it.
like
Yeah.
like I have friends who are clearly super fit,
Right.
and you know, again, if you're promoting a business or something like that, and you're going to post your workouts and you're going to post your, a sweaty selfie on Instagram, and that's your thing, that's your business. Hey, man, that's
It's
marketing. It's
right.
never been easier to market. I
Absolutely.
don't want. If I'm hiring a trainer, I don't want somebody that's got a belly and is just going to sit there and waggle their finger at me.
Right.
You know,
Right.
if I, right. If I'm hiring an accountant and he posts a picture in his new, McLaren, I'm like, okay, cool,
Right. Right.
um,
Right.
and he's promoting his business. But when like going to the gym, just for example, when you're not promoting a business, it's just part of your life, and you post going to the gym every day, like, yeah, it's for likes, it's for views, it's for validation.
Right.
But when you get somebody, tying in what we were talking about, changing the view of yourself, you need that,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So, there's also, we all have people, we all have friends that we're friends with on Facebook or Instagram who are clearly overweight and clearly need to make a change. And they post something like, hey, man, I did my 10th Peloton ride in a row.
That's
They
different.
post that because they
Yeah.
want a pat in the back. You know
Yeah.
what, man? Here, I wish I could like it more than once.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
That in that matter, I applaud that kind of thing because that's where the social media monster is actually a good thing because you will find more people supporting that effort than you would
Mhm.
not supporting it. The
Yeah.
point, the only ones that I don't like are the ones of the really, really, really ripped people showing somebody who's not in shape that they're using bands and they're not only using bands. Something like that.
Mhm.
Like the curveballs that are thrown for people
Right.
to
You get fitness expert and they're like, buy my booty band or
right.
buy my, and you're like, motherfucker, you're not using,
Look, oh,
you
here's
can
right.
bounce a quarter off your
The
abs. Like,
other
you're not
thing,
using this booty
no,
band.
no, and the other thing that I found too, like I'll get and I know this happens to a couple other fitness guys, they'll get constantly get direct messages to promote, and I already know how this works in the IG game because I'm one of my things to level up. You already talked about. I talked about one
Mhm.
of my projects, but the thing that I got a text or message from a supplement company. Oh, I saw your IG page. Looks pretty cool. Saw you're a fitness professional. Here are my products. You're an ambassador. Well, I'm an ambassador for a couple of different things, but not for
Mhm.
this particular thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that I won't do is I won't promote something that is ingestible because I have a fear not only getting sued, But
Sure.
I already know what supplements work for me, so I'm not gonna change just because I'm gonna make cash off of it.
Take this
That's
max
different for me.
shred pre-workout.
I don't do. That's the other thing. I don't do pre-workout because, like I say, caffeine. I'll have a cup of coffee or something to do that. Which brings me to this next one right here on the screen here: getting into a routine. So I'm going to talk about what my routine is, and I've already had people tell me that you're freaking crazy, but this is the way I do things. And once I started getting back to my routine after all the crap that we went through in the last year and a half or so, or shit, has it been 2 years? I guess it's been 2 years. Almost 2 years. Let's start with this one, because this is where we were in the beginning, right? Ladies and gentlemen,